the Great Siege tunnels, originally known as the Windsor Galleries, because it's been a while since I had a walk around Gib and showed you guys anything of any historical or cultural importance. These tunnels were blasted out by the Royal Engineers in 1700s, right, at the time of the Great Siege. Of course, Gibraltar became British in 1704. There you go, the work on these tunnels began on the 25th of May 1782. You can see from this window, and there's a lot of light shining through it. I don't know if maybe the camera can see outside or not. We got a good view of the eastern side of the rock. There we go. Got a good view of the eastern side of the rock there. And these cannons are dotted about all over the rock. Of course, its height, the distance and the thickness, the natural thickness of the walls, and the inherent hardness of the material, which is limestone, makes it a very, very secure vantage point. So, ideal for defending. As I say, you stick these cannons about all over the place. Somebody tell me what those uniforms are. I'm assuming the one on the right is a Scots Guard, but I might be wrong. I'm not sure about the guy with the spiked helmet. He looks German. So, these curtains, these long sheets of rope, they're there to catch any sparks from the cannon. Once it's fired, sparks fly out of the muzzle, bounce off the wall and directed back towards the poor bastard firing it. So those curtains are there to catch those sparks and protect the firer. Watch your head. It can be quite hazardous in here. All this isn't a natural cave. This was all excavated. This was all blown out using dynamite by the Royal Engineers. So if you've been a Royal Engineer or know anyone who was or is, you can be proud of their contribution. Soldier artificers. Okay, working dress. So this guy made stuff. Right, the artificers were divided into 3 divisions, reinforced by several officers detached from infantry regiments to act as assistant engineers and overseas. The corps, provided to be very useful, was increased from 122 men in 1779 and then to 234 by August 1782. After several name changes to distinguished service, they finally amalgamated in 1856 with the Royal Engineer officers to become the the Corps of Royal Engineers. So that's how the Royal Engineers got started. It was during the Great Siege, and they were originally called the artificers. So Royal Engineers, that's the predecessor to your uniforms. Here you see the men hard at work, digging out rocks, hammering and chiseling, preparing a way for the TNT. A French general commanding the joint forces of the French and the Spanish. Jean-Louis de Balbès de Berton de Crillon, the Duc de Crillon. That's why they lost the war, because they got dressed like that. Right, the Great Siege ended in February 1783. The gallery was 370 feet long at the time, with 4 guns mounted and 6 embrasures. The Duc de Crillon, who had commanded the enemy forces when shown the gallery, later said these works are worthy of the Romans. Okay, maybe we like you. Halt! Who goes there?
Halt! Who goes there?
That always makes me jump. Fucker. How you doing, mate? You alright? 'Tis the Queen's Peachy, of Peachy's place, sir. Yeah. Look at him enjoying a bottle of wine sitting by a campfire over there.
Halt! Who goes there?
Shut up. Right. Not sure what that room was. The Sortie, here we go. Bit more information about the Sortie here. During the autumn of 1781, and under the cover of darkness, the Spanish gradually constructed fortifications much closer to the rock. Right, that's why it was so important. The cannon and mortars that they installed were soon causing severe damage to both the town and the morale of the defenders. To counteract this, Governor Elliot decided to carry out a sortie, the French military term for a surprise nighttime raid. At midnight on the evening of 26th of November, 99 officers and 2,435 soldiers assembled and were divided into 3 units. The mission of each unit was to attack and destroy a separate part of the enemy's new siege lines. They set off about 45 minutes after the moon set at 2 a.m. Their objectives were captured with little resistance, since there were surprisingly few guards, and the soldiers quickly set about making the enemy's guns useless, blowing up their gunpowder stores and setting fire to the wooden fortifications. Although Brigadier General Ross was in command of the sorties, the Governor Elliot unexpectedly arrived to view the success of his plan at first hand. By 5 a.m. the troops were back behind Gibraltar's walls with only 4 killed, 25 wounded and 1 missing. These losses were much lower than expected for a raid which ventured more than 1 kilometre outside the walls and to within a short distance of an enemy that greatly outnumbered them. One kilometre out past the walls. Hey, the city walls. We can't see them from here. We can't see them from here. I'll try to show you later on where the city walls are. I'll do a ride around the city walls so you can see exactly where they are. There used to be a video thingy here. Powder magazine. This chamber is one of a pair constructed for the safe storage of gunpowder used by the cannon in the tunnel. Many measures were taken to minimize the risk of an accidental explosion, including special niches to leave lanterns in, situated in the passage wall opposite, and barrel hoops of ash and copper, instead of iron, to reduce the risk of sparks. The gunpowder magazines also needed to be relatively dry in order to prevent the gunpowder becoming damp and unusable. Gibraltar's guns used nearly 8,000 barrels of gunpowder and fired 200,600 rounds of shot during the Great Siege. And these are those special niches. There's one with a light in it. Someone else has been caught out by the dummy. Now this thing, this is amazing. Right. From the gunner's point of view, these were considerably safer. Okay, hang on a minute, let me back up a second. Hang on a sec. Right, okay. So, these guns here. Ugh. Hello, gents. These guns here. It's kind of dark, so I'm hoping that will show up better in the video later. Right, they're not your usual cannons. You see, it's all very well and good having a cannon from a high vantage point firing out. However, what do you do if you want to target enemies that are already closing in on you and they're well within your cannon range? Bear in mind, once you fire that straight cannon straight out, it's got a maximum and a minimum range, i.e. you can't angle it down. But with these, you can do. Right? They've got a special base which holds the cannon and stops it sliding off, and inside the barrel itself it was set up in such a way that the shot wouldn't simply roll out. So the cannon would hold the shot inside as it was angled down, the base would hold the cannon firmly in place, and it could be fired not quite vertically, but pretty much straight down towards advancing enemies. Again, this was a feat of engineering, a marvel that was created right here during the Great Siege and was used by the British Army for many years to come. These tunnels, of course, weren't just used during the Great Siege. During the World War II, World War II? Yeah, World War II. They were put to good use as well, and this is reminiscent from those times. So this isn't original to the caves. This came at a later point during the Second World War. Alright, let's have a look here. In early July 1943, General, I can't pronounce that, General Ladislaw Sikorsky, Prime Minister and Commander-in-Chief of the Polish forces in exile, stopped at Gibraltar on his way from Cairo to London on the night of 4th of July 1943. A British bomber with General Sikorsky on board crashed into the sea shortly after takeoff. The cause of this mysterious accident has never been ascertained, a fact which has given rise to many speculations, doubts and rumours. At the end of this tunnel, Douglas F. Martin, a radio operator with Special Operations Executive, had his transmitting station roughly 400 metres from the plane. He was the only witness who actually saw the crash. This gives you an idea of what this room would have looked like at the time, except without the nicely laminated flooring, of course, and the electrics. World War II tunnelling. Military tunnelling had a long tradition in Gibraltar, but nothing matches the scale of that undertaken during World War II. By 1943, almost 34 miles of tunnels were completed. The bulk of the work was done by the 4 companies of the Royal Engineers, mainly consisting of miners and quarry workers, plus a company of Canadian tunnellers that had perfected a technique using diamond drills and blasting with high explosives. Beyond this barrier lies the most significant World War II addition to the Great Siege Tunnel. During the war, it was extended right through to the other side of the rock. This long straight extension is known as the Holy Land Tunnel. The demands of war meant the speed was essential, an essential ingredient of tunnelling technique as far as the World War II miners were concerned. But unfortunately, this also created many stress fractures in the rock. God, this is a long ass tunnel. Hello boys, there you see more modern cement and concrete and a more modern enclosure for the boys with the anti-aircraft guns on the eastern side of the rock. We're now overlooking a new development, the eastern side reclamation. We're currently between I think it's Eastern Beach and Catlan Bay, or perhaps, no, yeah, Eastern Beach and Catlan Bay. As you can see, during the Great Siege we didn't have to worry about aircraft, so this side of the rock was all water for one thing, and just rock, so it didn't really need much defending. Obviously, by the outbreak of the Second World War, we already had planes. Of course, we had them in the middle, towards the end of the First World War, I think it was. The planes were started being much later in the First World War, but by the Second World War, obviously, we had the Bulldogs and Spitfires. Right, so that's the end of this tour through the Great Siege tunnels. I hope you enjoyed that. It's not really a motovlog or anything to do with bikes, but then, you know me, I do like posting up other stuff from time to time, family holidays and the likes. Because ultimately, it's all about the people, isn't it? I mean, yeah, it's about the bikes as well. We need to do as much. Bloody hell is that? Yeah, it's about the people. This is me. This is where I live. This is Peachy's place. So we're going to try and do a lot more of these sort of videos. I think the last time I tried something like this, there weren't an awful lot of views. Don't really bother me, to be honest. That video got accidentally deleted a while back, so I've been meaning to do one since. I thought I'd start with this. Right, so that's me. Thanks for watching. Take care, ride safe. I'll see you next time. Ta-ra.